What I remember about you first is exactly what you said. You had an answer for everything because you knew everything. And everything that we would try to do, you thought that you knew better. And I remember that you got the job at the pizza place. Mm-hmm. We were all concerned because they sell alcohol. And I think we came back with a couple of positive screens with respect to that. And then the decision was, okay, keeping Lewis out in the neighborhood is just not working. And that we need to put you in CBCF. And I knew that you were not going to like that decision because, again, pretty much everything that we had sort of suggested or recommended, you had an answer for. And it was, like a lot of people at that phase, that they think they know better than we what they need.
Which is crazy because my life's burned to the ground. Mm-hmm. Like I've got nothing, and yet I still think I know everything. This is a very special episode for me specifically. We are off-site at the Franklin County Common Pleas Courthouse with the Honorable Judge Stephen McIntosh. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this. It's kind of unbelievable to me. I don't know, your willingness to help.
No, not a problem. No.
Like,
happy to be here, really.
It means a lot, especially coming from the judge who once sentenced me to jail, you know? I mean, like, that's what a crazy situation. I want to learn more, and for our viewers, like where you grew up, how you grew up, and what molded you into the person that you are today. So where did life start for young Judge?
Well, life started for me in Columbia, South Carolina. So
okay.
That's where I was born, at Fort Jackson. So my father was in the military. Okay. And because of the fact that he was in the military, we moved around quite a bit, particularly when I was much younger. So had opportunities to live in Maryland, Virginia, Massachusetts, Okinawa, when I was much, much younger. Wow. Because people all the time say, well, you don't have a Southern accent. And I say, well, that's because when I learned to talk, I wasn't living in South Carolina at the time. But then we resettled back in South Carolina when I was in elementary school and remained there until I came to Ohio to go to law school.
Was it a strict household, being that he was a military man?
Yes and no. Obviously, yeah, being in the military, and my father was career military. He did 33 years in the Army.
Wow.
And it was. There were certain things, obviously, that we knew that we could and could not do, and
sure.
we were. We got up in the morning, we made our beds. That was expected and understood. But it was a very, very loving environment, too.
So important.
Very, very much so, with both of my parents. A couple of things obviously shaped me as I was growing up. Lost my mother when I was very young. She died when I was 15. Yeah, she'd been sick just for an extended period of time.
I didn't know that.
And then lost my father my second year of law school.
Oh, wow.
So I think that, one, made me much more responsible because obviously at that point in time, really had to depend upon myself. And I have one brother who still lives in South Carolina.
That feeling, I know that feeling because I lost both my parents. And that feeling of knowing that there's not a single human left on this earth that is required to take care of Lewis. Really, it is. You got to take care of yourself. And I have a little sister, right?
Yeah.
And so I know the feeling well. The feeling well.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of helped shape and mold me in how I look at my children, how I look at some of the things I do here with the court, because it could have been very easy to use that as an excuse growing up.
Oh, yeah.
As to reasons to fail or reasons not to do as well as you would hope to do. And I looked at it the other way. Despite the fact that my mother wasn't there, despite the fact that my father wasn't there, I still felt that I had a responsibility to make them proud of me.
Yes.
And so I continued to put forth the same type of effort in everything that I was doing throughout law school, and beyond. And part of that, I get it. I mean, losing someone that's close to you is difficult. I mean, it's a void. Trying to adjust to that new normal is not easy. But as you know, many of the folks in recovery will use that as an excuse. I lost my cousin, so that's why I have the positive screen, Judge.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, loss is difficult, but you got to find other ways to deal with it and to cope with it.
It's not going to make it better.
Right.
Like, and I knew that when I lost my dad. Like, if I go out and drink or use, this is going to be really bad for me. And I knew that. Like,
Right.
logically, I can tell myself, duh, no. And like the golden or the silver lining in the whole thing was that I was present the entire time, all the way up to the end.
Yep.
Had I been using and drinking, no chance.
Absolutely
no
not.
chance. You said you came from Columbia, South Carolina to Columbus, Ohio. Why? Why Ohio? Just for the school, for OSU?
Exactly.
Okay.
I knew absolutely nothing about Ohio. Came up here to go to Ohio State because they gave me a very good package, financial package,
Okay.
For law school. And so it was the law school that I could go to that I would have to pay the least amount of money. And I was on the 3-year plan, 3 years in Ohio, and then back to South Carolina.
I bet. I went to
Yeah.
Charleston a couple of weeks ago, and it's so beautiful down there. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize how much folks in Ohio actually liked South Carolina until I came up here for law school, and you would see all the brochures for spring break, Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head, and so I kind of took it for granted when I was living there.
Okay.
How easy it was to go to the beach. We could get up on a Saturday morning. Hey, let's go to Myrtle Beach, hop in the car, spend the day at the beach, come home that evening.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so really, really enjoyed it. So that's why it was, look, I can handle 3 winters in Ohio and head on back home. But
So had you seen snow? There did snows down there, yeah?
Oh, yeah. But generally speaking, if it snowed, it was gone the next day. If it did snow, I mean, an inch or less.
You're not seeing
which-
a lot of snow.
Correct.
Okay.
Except when I lived in Massachusetts, but I was much
yeah,
younger.
I bet.
Yeah, but I mean, days of snow? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, it was a day at most, generally speaking, and then it was gone. And during that time, the city and everything just shut down, so we just all stayed at home.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
it snowed.
So what was your plan when you got to law school? Like, what's the goal? Where do
Well-
you want to end up?
I always tell this story when I was an undergrad. I didn't know exactly what major I wanted to be in undergrad, so I went to college thinking I'll be a history major because I really enjoyed history. At freshman orientation, the line for people that were interested in history was a long line. The folks that were interested in political science was a very short line. So I decided, you know what, I'll be a political science major.
Interesting.
And it had 2 tracks. It had a law track and an administrative track. And I said, well, I never really thought about law school. So I did the pre-law track.
Okay.
And when I came to Ohio for law school, I didn't even know if I wanted to practice law. But I just figured a law degree would be something that would be marketable for me. So coming into law school, it was really, let me see what this is about. Let me kind of figure out something to see ultimately what I would like to do with it. And then took a trial ad class and fell in love with litigation, fell in love being in the courtroom.
Interesting.
And so I was fortunate enough while I was in law school, I had an opportunity to work at the prosecutor's office. They had what was called a night prosecutor's program, mediation. And I thought it was just eye-opening because you would have people from the community who had come in filing complaints, a woman against her husband, boyfriend, where he's assaulted her, issues with neighbors. And it was seeing real people with real issues, with real problems, and trying to figure out how to resolve them. And so I had the opportunity first to kind of serve as a mediator in an efforts to kind of help them figure out what they needed to do to
Okay.
be able to move forward. and then ultimately continued to work through the prosecutor's office, and then was able to get a job as an assistant city prosecutor.
Okay. So you started as an assistant city prosecutor.
Correct.
And then eventually moved up to, you became a prosecutor, right?
Well, no, that is a prosecutor's position. So I was immediately prosecuting
Oh,
cases.
so you were, okay.
Right. They just call it assistant because the city prosecutor can't be obviously prosecuting all the cases, so they have assistants. So I was one of the assistants that was up in the courtroom every day,
Okay.
doing exactly what I wanted to do.
So the million-dollar question then is, because when we interviewed Judge Munson, she was a public defender. So it made perfect sense what she's doing with Rise Court and all that. And you were a prosecutor.
Right.
You were on the other team, right? So to speak,
Right.
right? And now you're doing this special docket court called TIES, Treatment is Essential to Success, which helps addicts and alcoholics get back on their feet. Obviously, there was things that happened between when you were a prosecutor and became a judge. What did that look like, and when did you decide I want to be more hands-on with these people?
Well, I had practiced for close to 20 years as a prosecutor, working in a firm, doing a little bit of everything when I decided to become a judge. And one of the first things, and to this day, it kind of surprises me that I was so surprised, the needs of the people that come in front of me as a judge. It really just kind of hit me. When someone enters a plea, we usually get a pre-sentence investigation report, a ton of background information, drug history, family history, abuse, criminal history, and you would look at, education or lack of education, lack of employment histories, and it would just kind of hit me, wow. The needs of these individuals to keep them out of the system are great.
Yeah.
And so I said, as a judge, I have opportunities to get people into programs, encourage them as best I can, because obviously we deal with a lot of folks that it's because of their circumstances that they're sitting in front of me. Yeah, we deal with people that do terrible crimes, people that deserve to be in prison.
I was going to say, I asked Judge Munson this question. I want to ask you, what does it feel like as a human being to sentence someone to like a decade in prison? What does that feel like? Like, what do you go through?
It's not an easy thing to do, but one of the things that I did when I became a judge was I visited the prisons. So I had an opportunity to visit about 6 or 7 prisons within my first 2 to 3 years on the bench. And I did that because I said, well, since I know I'm going to be sending people to prison, I want to see where I'm sending them.
Wow.
I want to see what kind of opportunities, what kind of programs are being offered, what is the institution doing once I send them there, because we have opportunities to let people out early. And part of that is based upon,
Behavior.
Exactly. Institutional report. Is this person getting engaged in classes, programming? Are they staying out of trouble? And so we get all of that information. And a couple of the things that were fairly eye-opening for me in visiting the prison is that there are opportunities for persons to do things to prepare themselves for getting out. It's not the easiest thing because obviously you got a ton of folks in there that could care less.
Oh, it's, survival
Right.
mode.
Exactly. But you have some folks where the light clicks and they're trying to figure this thing out. And so opportunities to get into classes, programming, and one of the wonderful things that the prisons have, are these different sort of job within the prison. I visited one of the prisons that it's a sort of a meat packing. They actually bring the cows in, they slaughter the cows.
Oh, really?
And then they cut them up. And the day that we were visiting, they were actually cutting them up into the different types of steaks. And here are these inmates, knives, sitting there learning essentially how to be a butcher. At least something that they could learn once they use once they get out. Well, the wonderful thing about this, though, is that these are the types of jobs where they actually have to apply for these jobs. And if they get accepted, then they have to stay out of trouble. They have to show up to work every day.
Be on time.
And they get paid for doing it. And so it's at least helping them to learn some of the skills that they need once they get out. Because one of the things, again, when you look at folks that come before me, a lot of folks can get jobs. Now, the hard part is keeping the job. And, they're sitting there thinking, well, what do you mean? I got to come to work every day, and I got to be on time every day.
Yeah.
And when I'm there, I have to actually do the job. Because the number of times you hear, yeah, me and my supervisor just didn't hit it off. And I can imagine.
I wonder why.
Yeah, and I can imagine, if you're showing up late, not showing up at all, then you're going to have some problems with your manager. And so it's always amazing because when I have people that come in front of me and they say they just got a job, sometimes I'll set out a hearing about 3 or 4 months and have them come back in front of me. And I said, and when you come back, I want you to have the same job, because they can get a job.
For some reason, and I've worked in corrections, I remember guys being like, oh, well, I got a job set up when I get out. Like, that was the end-all, be-all.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm good now. I got a job. It's like, no, sir, you're not. Your life is still going to be waiting for you.
Right.
And it's still going to be destroyed.
Right.
You're going to have to clean it up. Like, yes, that's great. You have a job. You got that out of the way. Check. But there's so much more work to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which is kind of the wonderful part about the job and the wonderful part about ties. Because like I said, when I have people coming in front of me for sentencing and see how great the needs are, I will schedule another hearing out 3-4 months to see how well they've adjusted to supervision, if they're doing the things that they need to do. And I think it's helpful to them to see a judge that's, okay, now, Mr. Smith, why aren't you doing this? Okay, what issues are you having with this?
So
What
do you
concerns
approach regular, like outside of ties, the regular offenders, you approach it the same way, kind of?
Yes.
Almost.
Well, when
Similar.
when I started this, again, it and I don't know why it was so eye-opening because I had pretty much been in the system practicing most of my career. But again, realizing that these folks' needs were so great, it made zero sense to me that I'm looking at someone that I know being on supervision is going to be a challenge. And I essentially sentence them and say, good luck. If you mess up, then I'll see you back. Then it's when I started saying, okay, this person's obviously going to have some real challenges with adjusting to supervision and doing the things that they need to do. So look, I'm going to have you come back in front of me 3-4 months. We'll see how well you're adjusting,
Give you a chance.
see what's working well, what's not working well. And if they're doing well, hey, Mr. Smith, you're doing great. Can continue doing the things that you're doing. If not, okay, what is it that we can do to help you? Where are we falling short? What is it that you're not understanding? And I've had folks come, time and time again. I get to know them, they get to know me.
Yeah.
And so it's amusing sometimes because their significant other or their family members who come to court with them, hey, Judge McIntosh, and they'll say, you really need to talk with him because he's not doing the things that you're telling him that he needs to do. And I think that helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
That really helps. And so I always say, one of the great things about this job is that every day I have an opportunity to make a difference in someone's life. It doesn't happen every day, but just having that opportunity is something that I really enjoy about this job.
Yeah.
And you did ask earlier about sending folks to prison, and I kind of
yeah.
But it's not easy, particularly in situations where it's someone that you've tried to work with, and at some point in time you have to say, okay,
I got no choice.
Yeah, you being out in the communities is just not working, and so you send them to prison. Even people that commit serious offenses. you think about, whoa, 15, 20 years of their life behind bars. And
It's crazy.
well, when I was in law school, I was working with a clinic, and one of the things that we were doing in the clinic was we were representing folks in DRC that had filed a lawsuit saying they weren't getting sufficient medical treatment in the institution. And so we were getting all these prisoner files, and I'm going through these files, and I'm thinking, okay, this person's been in for 20 years. Gosh, all the things that I've done for 20 years, and during that same window of time, they've just been in the institution.
One cell. I had like a similar moment where somebody I was locked up with ended up getting 8. And he added me on Facebook, and he messaged me. He's like, "Hey man, I just got out of prison." And I sat there and I was like,
Yeah.
"Look at what I've built in 8 years."
Yeah.
And you were just stuck in a cell.
Right.
Like, it sucks. It sucks to see, and you want to see everyone get better.
Right.
I know, it's just not how it works.
No.
It's not how it works.
No.
So we met in Ty's court. If you remember, do you remember the day you sent me to CBCF, to that facility?
Generally, yes.
Do you remember how my demeanor and
Yes.
how that went? Do you mind telling that story? Just because I feel it's really important. I thought I knew the answer to every question in the world. And I sat there and I gave it to you.
Yeah.
And I told you that I knew it, that I could figure it out. And you listened, you always do. You kind of let me bury myself. This is what I like to call it. But if you could share that story, if you remember it.
Well, what I remember about you first is exactly what you said. You had an answer for everything, because you knew everything, and everything that we would try to do, you thought that you knew better. And I remember that you got the job at the pizza place. Mm-hmm. We were all concerned because they sell alcohol. And I think we came back with a couple of positive screens with respect to that. And then the decision was, okay, keeping Lewis out in the neighborhood is just not working. And that we need to put you in CBCF. And I knew that you were not going to like that decision because, again, pretty much everything that we had sort of suggested or recommended, you had an answer for. And it was, like a lot of people at that phase, that they think they know better than we what they need.
Which is crazy because my life's burned to the ground. Like, I've got nothing. And yet I still think I know everything.
Yes. And you're right. I like to give individuals opportunities to, tell me what you're thinking. Let me know. Because it helps me, because even if you're thinking it makes 0 sense to us, at least in the moment it's making sense to you. And it gives me an opportunity to at least come back at you and say, okay, now wait a minute. And part of that is exactly what you said. Okay, you've been making all these decisions for yourself, and clearly it hasn't been working out.
How's it going for you?
It hasn't been working out. Give us a chance to make some decisions for you. And even though you went kicking and screaming.
I did. Yeah. I definitely did.
We could see a change, though, as you were going through CBCF.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
It happened. The light bulb came on, and like I said, we were talking beforehand. Once I realized I didn't have all the answers, that's when my life changed.
Right.
Everyone all asks about what's your rock bottom. And it's like, I can tell you stories of like bad moments, but like really that's when my life changed.
Yeah.
What else would you like to share about Ty's Court? Tell us more about it.
I like ties because of the fact that I get to know people much more than I ever will with my other cases. Because as you know, in first phase of ties, I see everyone every week.
Yep.
And what I like about that is, again, it's the judge that's saying, okay, what's not working? Okay, what else do you need? or saying, man, you're doing a great job. Just keep doing this. Keep doing what you're doing. You're attending all your sessions. Sounds like you're really getting something out of it. Because I think folks need encouragement because, I mean, recovery is not easy at all. And at some point in time, it kind of wears on you that you're kind of doing the same thing all the time.
Over and over, yep.
Right. But as you know, I mean, it really is kind of developing that lifestyle that allows you to continue doing the things that you need to do even after you get finished with ties. And so I really got involved with ties because the judge that preceded me, Judge Sheeran, was doing ties, and I was helping him out when he was not
You'd
able
fill
to.
in.
Correct.
Okay.
And then when he stopped doing it, that's when I started doing it every week. And what ties provides is the level of structure that a lot of folks need to be successful in recovery. I mean, you know, the hardest thing is to say, okay, just do treatment and you'll be fine, because it's so much more than just treatment.
So much more.
And so what I like is that we get to do, I think, more sort of individualized attention in terms of, you know, we're able to provide resources, financial resources to folks for certain things right now, particularly with ATP funds, that we can do that. Can help people with getting housing, help them with their mental health, and, you know, being able to be there every week to say, okay, clearly the medications are not really where they need to be. You need to get back with your doctor. You know, maybe they need to increase or decrease. But it's that ability each and every week to look at them, figure out what their needs are, and try to give them what they need to be successful, not just in the TIES program, but successful once they get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think one of the mistakes that was made, you know, years ago was, if you just get someone in drug treatment and they get through the program, they should be fine. Well, you can get someone through drug treatment and they've done very well. Okay, but if they don't have a job, if they don't have a place to stay, their chances of continuing to be successful in recovery is difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very difficult. So I like the fact that even if you do everything right, it's still going to take you about 1.5 years to get through TIES.
Yep.
And very few folks
And that's
do
if you're
that.
perfect.
Correct.
And God
Yeah.
knows I was not perfect. It took me 3.5 years for the
Yeah.
record.
But it allows us to give them hopefully all the tools that they need to be successful in the program. The last all phase hearings that we had a phase 4 person, and I asked them, well, how's things going? And they said, Judge, I'm just tired. And I said, well, what are you so tired about? He said, you know, when I was using, I didn't care about anything. But now that I'm not using, I have to be an adult. I have to worry about, you know, maintaining a job and taking care of my kids and being there.
Luxury problems.
Yes. Yeah, and they said, but I'd much rather be where I'm at right now
Yep.
than where I was.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like, you know, this adulting thing carries a lot of responsibility
It
with
does.
it. Yes. And so I like, because I tell them all the time, you know, I want the team to be there for you as you're figuring out, how do I maneuver life? Because life's going to happen.
Yep.
And if we can be there to kind of help you make some of those decisions or support you as you're trying to figure this out, then yes, once you get finished with the program, hopefully you have all the tools and the resources that you need to continue to be successful.
I'm curious what your opinion or take is on incarceration in general. And there's a reason I asked that question. I never went to treatment. Not one time did I go to treatment. The only time I could have gone, they called me and I hung the phone up because I didn't want to go.
Oh, okay.
So I had to go to jail. Like literally I had to get arrested and go to jail to have a shot at getting clean. And I remember I went to court. They threatened me with prison, and that's when I took TIES to get out from under that situation.
Right.
Because I knew if they offered me probation, but I knew I was going to relapse. I knew it. I knew it. And that's when I, got underneath you and the ties team. But what is your take on the value of incarceration? Because to me, there is a value there, right? Like, because without it, I'm screwed. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly don't think I'm alive without it.
No, there's a lot of value, depending on where the person is at. I mean, we unfortunately get people that say, hey, I would love for my son or daughter to be in ties. And we'll say, well, were they in the system? Well, they're not in the system. I said, well, there's not anything that we can do. We don't want them to be in the system, but they really want some hammer to get them to
They would need a charge
to comply with treatment because they're just not complying out in the community. We've had parents call for participants in ties. Could you have them arrested?
Wow.
Because I'm concerned that they're going to kill themselves with what they're doing right now and how they're using.
Wow.
And so the value of incarceration is that in some situations, obviously not good in all, but
No.
in some situations, it provides us the ability to have more control in helping them to make better decisions.
Yeah.
And
Because
yeah,
even those short stints, like you guys would do the 3 days, and I think I got a 4-day once. But like, if I had been like actually trying, that might have helped me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that might have helped me, and I believe that. And I know that has to sound so strange coming from someone who has I've probably done over a year and a half in the county. But I believe there's value there. Like I don't know.
no, but there's also, a number of folks that have approached me. They'll either pop into my courthouse, they may see me on the street, and thank me. Because when I put them in jail or I put them even in prison, they'll say that's exactly what I needed at that time. At the time I didn't think so.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, but looking back, that's exactly what I needed. And folks like you,
Yeah.
that we're sending you to CBCF. Judge, I don't need CBCF. Don't send me to CBCF. No, I think that's exactly what you need. And they come out on the other side and say, yeah. I know I kept telling you that that's not what I needed, that's not what I wanted. But now looking back on it, that's exactly what I needed at that time.
Yeah.
And so the good thing about the system is that for good or for bad, we have a hammer, which is jail or
Yeah.
prison.
Sure.
And for a lot of people, it works. They do what we tell them to do because they want to avoid the consequences. Yep. But before they know it, they're actually in recovery because they're doing the things that we're asking them to do.
Right.
And so, I had many people who have come back and said that, which is, when I first started in the program, I figured, look, I can just kind of fake it to make it. And then when I realized I couldn't do that, I just kind of did what you guys told me to do because I didn't want to get in trouble. And then all of a sudden I realized, okay, I can do this.
My life's good.
Yeah, I can do this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so the ability of the court to impose sanctions, to send someone to jail, send someone to prison, sometimes is what some people need. They need to have that hanging over them before they at least begin doing the things that they need to do.
I remember a participant that I was in ties with, and she went to prison, and she's still doing fantastic today. I think you probably know who I'm talking about. So again, another situation where she didn't want to go,
Right.
but it's exactly what she needed.
Yeah.
And she'll tell you that.
Well, that's why there are people that I will release from prison early. And I do that because of the fact that once they get into the institution, they begin doing things. And then once they get out on judicial release, then I still have the opportunity to supervise them. And a lot of people at that point in time, because they've experienced prison and don't want to go back, are willing to put in the work to stay out in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got nothing else for you. If you have any messages or anything you want to deliver to our viewers, like I said, we normally do addicts in recovery. So anything you'd like to say, floor is yours.
Well, I think a lot of people don't appreciate what the court system is trying to do to help people in recovery. When I first ran for judge, it was all about being tough on crime. Had no idea what that meant. But people out in the community, that's what they wanted to hear. As a judge, are you going to be tough on criminals? And I'm so happy that the system and the public in general appreciates that the system can be really used to help people, to give them the tools to stay out of the system. Because again, we have people absolutely that need to be in prison, but the vast majority of the folks that we as judges deal with, it's because of situations, circumstances, drugs, or whatever, that they're cycling through the system. And I think the system now is figuring out, okay, if we deal with the folks while they are here and give them what they need, then maybe we can keep them out of the system.
Absolutely.
And that's what we should be trying to do. I always give Judge Herbert credit when he started the docket with the prostitutes soliciting.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I was a young municipal prosecutor in the 80s, we'd get someone coming in on a prostitution soliciting case. Okay, this is their first one. We'll give them 15 days and release them. Oh, okay, this is their second one. Okay, we'll give them 30 days and release them. And then finally someone asked, well, why are they continuing to come through?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, what is causing this to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And someone finally sat back and said, okay, we need to look at the underlying reasons and see if we can address those. And I think it's the same thing now with particularly drugs and substance abuse.
Yeah.
We finally sat back and said, okay, we just can't have the folks continue to cycle through the criminal justice system while we have them. We need to figure out what we need to give to them to get them back on their feet and out of the system. And so I'm pleased that the court system that I'm working in right now is one that is willing to put forth the resources to try to help folks coming through.
No, you guys are great, and I mean, even you doing this podcast is a testament to that. I'm a former participant, and you agreed to meet me and do this. That's a testament to exactly what you're saying, and it proves that you're telling the truth.
Well, real quick though, and I'm always quick to say it's not about me; it's about the folks that come through. We provide opportunities. You took advantage of the opportunity, as many of the people coming through the system do. And so it's you putting in the work, it's you figuring it out, it's you doing the things that you need to do. And so I'm proud of you personally for everything that you've done.
I appreciate that.
As well as the folks that put in the hard work to try to change their lives. Because it's not easy. It is not easy at all.
It's a battle, and it's every day.
Yeah. Yes.
Go Broncos. Go Bo Nix. Had to get that in. He's a Raiders fan, so had to get my shot in, especially when we're close quarters like this.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we have a new coach this year, so things are going to turn around.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You guys are scary. That's right.
Well, it's a scary division.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Awesome podcast. We appreciate it. Thank you.
No, well, thank you, Louis. No, I appreciate it. All right. All the best to you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, like Judge McIntosh said, I started off with an OD, actually. That's how this started. I got out on house arrest. Gears started turning one Friday morning, about 7 a.m., and I called my dude. He came. I overdosed. Ends the whole nine. Do everything right, except for work on Lewis. I did absolutely zero work on Lewis. And what do you think happened? I relapsed. Yeah. I was on Vivitrol too, by the way, because opiates were my drug of choice. and I still picked up booze, cocaine, whatever else was in my system in those dirty urines. And I remember I didn't want to go back to jail. That was the big thing. I did not want to go back to jail. So I called my sponsor. Believe it or not, I had a sponsor at the time. And I said, I will do anything to get sober. Anything it takes. And I think I had like 3 weeks when I came back into this courtroom. And I sat down and I told the judge how great things were going, and I was a manager at a sub shop. That was my like really big thing. That was my big claim to fame, that I was a manager at a sub shop. And you know, how I'd worked the steps and I'd done all these great things and da-da-da-da-da. And he was like, that's great, Mr. Essig, but we're gonna take you into custody today and you're going to CPCF. And I flipped out. Like, I lost my shit completely in the courtroom in front of the judge. And he let me. He just let me bury myself. I sat there and I yelled, like, I'm a manager. How are you gonna do this to me? I'm a manager. I kept saying that, like it mattered, you know? And what I came to find out was that I didn't know what was best for Lewis. Lewis ran out of answers. And people like Judge McIntosh, who see people like us every single day, might in fact know what's best for us, right? So when he says go to meetings, it's probably because they work, right? And then when I go to the meetings, I meet this guy with 30 years sober, and then he tells me to do X, Y, Z, and then that works. And next thing you know, you're stringing along some days, and you got months, and then you got years. Like, I'll have 9 years on July 3rd. I appreciate that, you know, but that was freely given to me by people in recovery. And I come back here to remind you guys that it's possible. I work at ABC 6 right now. I know that's hard to believe because you have to be a felon to qualify for this, but I got them expunged and sealed, and they hired me. That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I can't believe it most days. And you all can do it too. I promise you that. If you work hard at your recovery, you can have whatever you want. I believe that fully. That's all I got. Thank you. Oh no.
Things that you did in giving back was going into CBCF. Kind of talk a little about that, and then what got you to Channel 6? Because there's a story there as well.
Yeah, no, there is a story there. You're right. I guess I kind of passed over that. So I started taking AA meetings in the CBCF every Thursday night. I did it when I was in Ty's court, I believe, and then I had to get off of paper, and then I went and did it again. I did it for 8 years. And in 2020, when COVID hit, I was working in fine dining. I was waiting tables, making pretty good money. And I went into work Sunday, and they closed restaurants. Mind you, I've still got multiple felonies and a misdemeanor rap sheet that's a mile long. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I came back here to Ty's court, to Judge McIntosh, and I said, hey, would you write me a reference letter to work at CBCF? And he said, yes. And I went in there, and I applied, and they hired me. And not only did they hire me, they promoted me twice. Once to head of security, and the second time, I ran the unit, meaning managed the RAs and the 72 residents that I lived on. Impossible. Impossible, right? No way. No way. It's a true story. You know, and I've got people that can back it up. From there, I went into sales. I went into logistics, did well, and kind of got sick of some of the stuff, the culture in the office, so to speak. And met another buddy in AA, believe it or not, I know, hard to believe, in recovery, who worked at ABC 6, and he stuck his neck out for me, and I got the job. So that's how that happened. Thank you for reminding me of that.
No, not at all. Not at all. But but when I say that Lewis was difficult, because Lewis is a smart guy, and that was part of his problem, that he continued to think he knew better than everyone else, and he had an answer every time the team came up with something that we thought would be beneficial for him. Lewis had an answer. And his answer was always essentially, I hear what you guys are saying, but this is what I really need here, and I'll be fine. And he's absolutely correct. When the team finally got to the point where it was, okay, this just isn't working, and it was, we're putting you in CGCF today. He did. I mean, he absolutely lost it. Just could not believe that we were doing this. We just don't understand. I'll be fine. Just give me more time. Give me another chance. But the team said no. And the positive thing, though, is he then took advantage of it. He took advantage of the opportunity, began putting in the hard work, and like he said, 9 years later, doing very well. He's actually put on programs in Bexley as well about recovery, drug addiction, and things of that sort. And so every opportunity that he has to stop through, just to pop in and say hello, is something that I very much appreciate.